is to plan and decide how you want to give this tour. Now, there are some basics that you're definitely, some basics you're definitely going to want to do, and then some other things you get some choice on. So, for example, there's two of you. You're going to want to have one person in the front and one person in the back. Okay, and that's just sort of a crowd management thing. Keeping sixth graders, sort of in line of where they need to go. That's sort of a basic deal. You're definitely going to want to do that. Now, when Miss Harris and I were doing it, for the most part, Miss Harris was doing all the work. Like, she was the one stopping you and explaining and all that kind of stuff. When you're working with your fellow web leader, you're going to want that to be more even. Okay, so like I should have stepped up and said more about whatever location we were in. Okay, so you want that to be kind of an even task.
How many sixth graders are you expected to have in each group?
You're going to have about 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about 10. So, the basics. Sophia.
Will we just leave our stuff, like the balloons?
Yeah, all that stuff you'll leave in the advisory classroom that you're in. That'll be all fine, and you just go. Okay. So you're going to take them on a sort of like greatest hits tour of Southview, like the places they're definitely going to want to see and know exist, where they are, why they would need it, why it's important, stuff like that. Okay? Question, yeah.
Wait, we are allowed to tell them, this is your advisory class, all the people?
Yep, they're going to know that. And well, now here's the thing, though. You might be in the actual classroom. You might not be. Okay? So they're going to know, hey, the people sitting around you you're all in Mr. Bartlett's advisory or whatever. Okay? You might be in Mr. Bartlett's classroom, but you might not be. It just kind of depends on what's available that day.
We're still working on those.
We're working
details.
on that.
Some of the very fine details you're not going to get until you show up on Thursday.
Yep. So those are sort of the basics, the things that you get to have fun, personalize, make it your own. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, so you may have done this, you may have remembered this. One of the traditions that happens in Web actually happens in a lot of schools. It's not just Southview. This is an international program. So in Minnesota, a lot of middle schools do it, but across the country, schools do it. So one of the traditions of a tour is dressing up or having a theme for your group. So some of you might have experienced that when you were sixth graders. Sometimes we've seen kids hand out newspaper hats that they made, and every kid wears a newspaper hat. Sometimes one year there were kids wearing garbage bags.
Hawaiian
Lays. Yeah. So sometimes people go to the dollar store or the party store and they pick a theme, and then everybody in their group gets to wear something from that theme. Yeah. But you don't have to spend money. You can also make something at home. One year, didn't they paint paper bags or something, or boxes they had to wear? So coming up with a theme for your group for the tour, just because there's a lot of you walking around, it helps them stick with their group and stick with you. So that's what you and your partner might talk about. What do you want to do for a fun little theme? Doesn't have to cost money. Again, you can do something homemade, whatever you want. And then the other thing is I stopped and I asked some questions and threw out fruit snacks because that's what we had. You might want to bring some candy, and don't take the candy out until the tour. But once you start going on the tour, stop and ask questions or whatever, and make sure every kid gets at least a piece of candy. You don't have to bring candy. Again, you don't have to spend money, but that's something kids tend to like on the tour. And when you think about the tour, you're going to all start up in sixth grade. But what are the other key places that we're going to have to hit on our tour?
Cafeteria,
media center,
the office, is a music office, gyms.
You're probably, you're going to need to do you're not going to do the whole level, but from the sixth floor, you want to hit the media center. You got to take them down to where music and gym is, because those are far away.
We will have been in the gym to start.
Oh, that's true. So maybe you don't have to do the gym.
Skip the gym.
But music, art, do they do art in sixth grade?
There's two different art areas.
Yeah, so art, math, because math is kind of over here, right? Although I don't know in sixth grade.
Yes, it's on the floors.
Okay, so kind of talking about that. Cafeteria for sure. You want to hit the nurse's office, right? And the student services main office. So you are going to be doing a big kind of loop. And really, also you might want to show them where the buses come in.
Yeah.
Because they might all come in by the theater, so on that first day, if they walk in where the buses are, they're going to be like, where am I? And show them that they can go right up the stairs to their lockers from there.
and realize and tell them, and I remember listening last year, in elementary you're used to having, this is my homeroom, or, you know, they swap out for subjects. Other than advisory, they're going to be moving all over the place, and that's why you're showing around the room, as well as this may apply to some of you, but not, I mean, everything you're doing is probably only going to apply to a portion of your sixth graders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll give you a chance to do that, but the big thing is, as you're walking around, don't just say, oh, this is Mr. Dahl's room. But you might, as you're going, you might tell a story like, oh man, Mr. Dahl has a really fun activity you're all going to get to do. And I'll just tell you that it involves a robot and the theme song to Big Bang Theory. You know, like you can kind of like build anticipation. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what you do. But, you know, I don't know what he does. Why is he even here? I don't know. But, you know, you might tell little stories or like, oh yeah, the cafeteria, like those pro tips, like maybe bring your lunch on the first day or the first couple days. You know, don't forget that on the first day there's still kids who are going to be scared. Invite them to come sit with you. Like you can give them little tips. Most importantly though, keep it positive. And you might have heard somebody say, if you have nothing good to say,
Don't say it all.
say nothing at all, right? So you might have had a negative experience with one or a teacher at school. Maybe a sixth grade teacher, or maybe something that happened another kid did that really hurt your feelings or you thought was stupid, or maybe there's an activity you didn't like. That's your opinion, then that's okay. You had that experience. We want these sixth graders to come in excited and hoping that all of them are going to have a good experience. So we build that up by not planting negative thoughts in their head from the beginning. Does that make sense? So we're planting positive thoughts. If something negative happened, or maybe you have an opinion that you're like, oh, then don't say it. You know, let the other leader talk, or just don't say anything at all about that specific person or area.
What if there's like a teacher and you know, like you just want to tell them like don't get on their bad side, like don't goof off in this class?
No,
No.
nothing.
Nothing.
Negative.
We want all students to be respectful, right? Like that's just a school standard. Safety, learning, respect. That's Dr. Anderson's, and kids will learn the ropes soon enough. But because then right away you bias those students about that teacher, and that's not fair, right? We don't want to be biased about you before we meet you.
Down that line, if they ask about that, or because you're going to have students that had siblings that had different experiences with different teachers up there, just from this standpoint, you know, and I recommend this to everybody, have them get in the habit of, you know, their sixth grade is more alike now than it's ever been. However, once you walk in the classroom, every teacher has their own way of finalizing their learning style, and tell them that, you know, just, you know, whatever each teacher, that's totally fine to say, you know, that, well, Gary does this and this as a reaffirming thing, not, oh, Dahl does this, you know. Does that make, do you see the difference?
And really,
Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, they're awesome. You're gonna have a great experience. It's gonna be awesome.
yeah.
Simple.
Because every single teacher in this building is here because they like kids and they like their job. And it doesn't always translate that way. I know, in a big class and there's things happening. But everybody starts this year, and especially with sixth grade, they're super excited to welcome these kids into the school. So we just want them to feel that. Things might happen throughout the year. They do. We're human, right? But let's set them up for a real positive. Right? You know, do you guys remember my students? Do you remember how I started 7th grade last year with you? Yeah. Remember that I said first impressions are really important, and I want to give you a chance to think about what you want me to see. So I start class with a blindfold on, and everybody walks in. That's kind of what we want for these guys. We want to build them up in positive ways, but if you have a negative experience or something, keep it to yourself. Let them form their own opinions. Let them get their own first impression.
And down the line of, it just brought back a memory and spinning what Mr. Griggs said. 2 years ago, do you remember how we started out the school year with all the construction? And I'll never, ever forget one of the web advisors, and they're like, oh, it's so, you know, one of the kids or sixth graders are like, oh, this is just so dirty. And it's like, oh, no, it's actually a lot better. And then it was really hot, and they said, no, it's a lot cooler here than it is outside. You see what I'm saying? Where you can just spin it that positive way, and often you can talk them into having a good time with you.
We're going to do some work on that today. We'll talk about how to deal with the negative Nellies or kids, we'll talk about some of that stuff. But we need a break. You guys have worked really hard. Here's the deal for lunch or snack today. I got Pringles, 1 per person, Rice Krispie treats. I think you could do 2 per person. Water if you need it.
I want easier for the